Welcome back, I'm George, and in this video I'm going to show you the first things you need to do on your new iPad Air M4. I've got functionalities, I've got customization settings, and much more. So that being said, and without further ado, let's begin with the first thing you need to do on your iPad, which would be to come to the settings, then tap on General, and then tap on Software Update. Here you'll be able to see if your iPad is up to date, like mine, or if you have any pending updates, so you can get the latest features or potentially make it faster and more stable. Now, that being said, the next thing you have to do is to tap on Apple Intelligence and Siri and turn on Apple Intelligence. Many of the features I'm going to show you in this video have to do with AI, and therefore you need to have Apple Intelligence turned on to use them. Now, next up, and as one of the most important things you have to do on an iPad, we have to optimize the battery so it lasts as long as possible. Now, if you tap on the battery settings, you'll see that there's not much you can do here besides turning on the low power mode. That is actually only for emergencies. Ideally, this is not what you want to do to save battery life. But don't worry, because there's actually a bunch of things we can do in the settings to get a lot more battery life on this device. So first of all, let's tap here on Notifications and then swipe down to Notification Style to see the full list with every single app that can send notifications to your iPad. And well, as you can probably guess, each one of these apps is going to be connected to the internet and updating all the time, and therefore it is going to be burning a lot of battery life. Now, what I suggest you do is that you select a few of these apps that you actually want to be receiving notifications from, like maybe FaceTime or social media, and then everything else, just turn it off, because each one of these apps burns a little bit of battery life. All you have to do is to tap on that app, and then right here at the top, just turn the notifications off. Now, another thing you can do to save battery life is to tap on General, and then swipe down to Background App Refresh. Here you'll see a full list with every single app that can update in the background. And much like with notifications, each one of these apps is going to burn battery life when it updates in the background. So ideally, you want to turn off all the apps you don't really need to be updating. Well, maybe Drive, I do need it, but every other app you don't need to be updating in the background, just turn it off, because this is a big battery saver. And well, more in the same vein, if we swipe down to Privacy and Security and then tap on Location Services, here you'll see there's three options for location services. So if we tap on an app, you'll see that we can never allow for location services, we can allow when we're using the app, or we can allow always. And well, besides the weather app, I don't think any of these apps should always have permission to access your location. So make sure that there are no always in the list besides the weather app, and that is also going to save you some battery life. Now, something else you can do to save battery life is to swipe all the way up to Bluetooth and turn it off, just like this, because most of the time you're not going to be connecting devices to your iPad, and having Bluetooth turned on all the time can actually burn a lot of battery life during the day. So if you're not using an external mouse or AirPods, turn it off. Which, by the way, you probably already know, you can do in a very easy way by swiping down on the top right side and then disabling Bluetooth right here. So you tap and hold and then disable the Bluetooth connection, so you don't have to go to the settings. Now, another thing you can do to save battery life is to tap on Apple Intelligence and Siri, then tap on Talk and Type to Siri and turn it off, because either one of these options is going to have the microphone working all the time to try and guess if you say the magical words. And of course, well, that is not good for privacy, having a microphone listening to everything you say. And of course, it is also not good for battery life. Now, if you want to use Siri, you can always enable this option to press the top button for Siri, and then just tap and hold on the power button like this to activate the assistant. And well, something else you can do to save battery life is to come to Display and Brightness, then tap on Liquid Glass, and then go from Clear, which is the default option, to Tinted. This is essentially going to reduce the transparencies across the system, which do burn a little bit of battery life, although mainly I suggest you choose between tinted and clear based on personal preference. Some people really like the liquid glass aesthetic, and some people don't. And well, everything said, if you want a more extreme version of this to completely erase liquid glass, you can always tap on accessibility, then tap on display and text, and then enable reduce transparency, which is going to completely eliminate any transparencies on the iPad. So as you can see the search bar, if I turn it off, you can see a lot of the background on the search bar, but if I turn it on, it becomes a solid piece where you cannot see the background. And well, same goes for things like folders. So if you turn on reduce transparency, they are going to look a lot different, but once again, you are going to save a lot of battery life. This really makes a difference. But anyway, that being said, and before we move on, I actually have something for you watching this video. This right here is Willow Voice, a dictation tool that lets you write anywhere on your computer by just using your voice. Now, of course, this is not a new idea, I know, but what makes Willow different is that it is very, very smart. It automatically removes repeated words and stuttering, as you can see right here. It has tone matching, so it can make emails sound formal and messages to your friends sound more casual, adjusting based on where you're typing. And it learns how you write, so it sounds exactly like you in style, tone, and flow. Now, personally, in my case, what I really love about it is that it automatically adds paragraphs, bullet points, and structure to what you're saying, so you don't end up with a pile of text like this. And well, it is also pretty fast compared to typing, as you can see. If you like it, you can check the link down below in the description to try it for free, or you can get 20% off for 12 months using code GeorgeLock20. But anyway, that being said, let's now get back to the iPad Air M4 because I have a lot more things I want to show you. So if you swipe down from the top right like this to access the control center, you will get access to some basic connectivity settings, your media, and of course the brightness and volume. But something a lot of people don't know is that if you tap and hold, you can actually edit the control center. So you can move things around like this. You can even choose to make things bigger like this if they matter more than other things on the control center. And you can always tap on add a control to increase the number of options you have here from a very long list of options that you get here. By the way, both from first-party apps from Apple and from third-party apps. So the most amount of apps you have on the iPad, the more options you'll probably have here on the control center. Now, something you should know is that if you accidentally mess it up by just swapping controls and then things look like a mess and you're like, oh, I want to go back to the way things were before. Well, you can do that. All you have to do is to come here to the settings, then swipe up to where you see Control Center, and then tap on Reset Control Center. There we go. So now, if you swipe down to the Control Center again, everything will be back to normal. So you can restart customizing it or leave it as is. Now, that being said, one of the coolest features on your iPad, and by the way, this is new with iPadOS 26, is that if you come to your gallery and select any of your photos, you can now tap on this button right here, and automatically the iPad is going to turn your photo into a 3D photo. So as you can see, now it feels like a spatial photo where you can see depth and there's like volume to the elements in it. And it actually does a really good job. Like, it is surprisingly well made, where you can even see the sleeves on my hoodie like move a little different than the other parts that are flatter. Like, they've done a really good job with this feature. Now, another great functionality also on the Photos app is that you can zoom on any part of your photos and then tap right here on crop to automatically crop that image. You don't have to go to the settings, look for the crop icon, and then fidget around with these little bars. You can just zoom in like this, tap on crop, and that's done. The image will be cropped, although everything said once you save it, you can always go back to normal by tapping right here on edit, then tapping on this button right here, reset to original, and then you'll get the original image. And well, another very cool feature also on your photos is that you can zoom in on any text, then tap and hold your finger to copy that text and then go to, well, any other app, maybe like the Notes app, and paste that text just like that. As you can see, it detected the text and it converted it into typable text, so to say. But anyways, that being said, let's now move on to customization. So let's swipe down on the notifications page, then tap and hold, and we will get access to the collections page where we can have multiple lock screen home screen pairs. If you want to create a new one, you have to swipe all the way to the right, then tap on plus, and automatically the iPad will give you a bunch of options for the lock screen wallpaper, from weather to astronomy to kaleidoscope, Unity. But of course, you can always tap here on photos and just select any of the photos you have on your iPad. In fact, that is exactly what I'm going to do because I want to show you a very cool feature on this page. So much like with the Photos app, if we tap on this button right here, your iPad is automatically going to convert the image into a 3D image. So as you can see, you can not only have 3D photos, but you can have 3D wallpapers. And I think this one is a good testament to how good it is, where it detected my dog perfectly and separated it from the background. But anyway, besides the 3D image, we can also adjust the date, replacing it, of course, with other information like the weather, your mail, your calendar. You can also tap here on the time to change the font, to change the density of that font. You can also, of course, change the color of your text, as you can see, increasing both the intensity of that color and also right here at the bottom if you want liquid glass, or if you want it to be a solid color, which is, as you can see, a lot more visible. Now, something a lot of people don't know is that you can also tap right here and increase the size of the time to make it really big. As you can see, it almost covers half of my iPad. I don't think it needs to be that big, but you can make it relatively big so it's easier to see at a distance. Now, down below here, we can add some widgets like we've done in previous iPads. Although we only have the option to add 2 big widgets like this or 4 small widgets like these ones right here. Now that said, once you're done, you can tap on Add right here, and it automatically will lead you to the lock screen home screen setup, where you will be able to customize the home screen, because sometimes with some of these wallpaper options, it gets a little bit messy, so you can tap on Blur to blur the background so apps can be a little bit more visible. Or alternatively, you can select a solid color, you can select a gradient, or you can select any of your photos from your gallery, any other photo. And well, once that's done, let's tap on Done, like that, and you'll have your new wallpaper lock screen set up. But anyway, that being said, and moving on to the home screen, the first thing you need to know is that you actually have hot corners on the iPad. So if you swipe from the bottom left corner like this, you can take a screenshot. And if you swipe from the bottom right corner, you can open a quick note where you can actually use your S Pen to scribble maybe a quick phone number or some important information you want to remember. But of course, when it comes to the home screen, the most visibly impactful thing you can do is to change the icon shape and color. To do that, you have to tap and hold, then tap on Edit right here, and then tap on Customize. As you can see, you can go from your default icon style to dark mode, which is going to turn every light surface into a dark surface on your icons. Then you can tap on Clear, which is going to make all of your icons be completely transparent. Although at the bottom, you can choose between light mode and dark mode, which is going to make the icons a little bit more visible. And then, of course, you have the infamous tinted option to choose the color for your icons, which is very hard to make look attractive. As you can see, there's not a lot of combinations of wallpaper and color you can use to make things look good. I feel like your best bet is to tap on this icon right here and choose the color picker to maybe match the background of your wallpaper to the icons, as you can see, making it a little bit more similar and therefore more aesthetic. And well, of course, if you tap on this button right here, you can enlarge your icons, although you will be losing the text at the bottom. So if you don't really know all of your apps, this may not be a good idea because you may not know what some of these apps do. Now, that being said, something that will probably surprise people coming from an older iPad is that you can actually place icons anywhere you want on the home screen. So if you tap and hold like this, and then you grab an icon maybe to another page, you can actually place it anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be, magnetized all the way to the top like it was before. So you can maybe have all of your icons right here at the bottom where they're easier to reach. And well, for what is probably my favorite home screen feature, if you tap and hold on any app and then tap on options, you can actually require TouchID, which means that for that app, from now on, you'll need your TouchID to be able to enter that app. So if I tap on the Notes app, for example, it doesn't automatically open unless I enter my TouchID. If you have other people at home that may want to use your iPad and you have private information, you can now lock that information with your TouchID so only you can enter that app. Now, if you want to disable the TouchID functionality, you can tap and hold once again on your notes and then tap on Don't Require TouchID. It is going to ask for your finger once again, but once that's done, the app will be free so everybody can enter and see what's in it. But anyway, that being said, it is time to get serious. Let's talk about multitasking on your new iPad. So as a quick refresh for basic multitasking, the basic functionalities would be to swipe and hold to access all of your apps, and then, to swipe like this to hover between all of your apps, although it gets a little tricky sometimes, as you can see. But if you come to the settings and then swipe down to where it says multitasking and gestures, you can now enable something called windowed apps, which may not look or feel that different, like nothing happens. But as you can see, now we get this little corner right here at the bottom, which if we swipe it, we will be able to turn any app into a windowed app. As you can see, if you tap right here at the top, you can move the app around just like this. And just as a little tip, especially if you have smaller iPads, I recommend you turn automatically show and hide dock off so the dock is not occupying any space and you have more space for apps. Now, that being said, you would only want windowed apps if you can have multiple apps at the same time. So let's swipe up. Let's now select Safari, for example, just like this. And automatically we can open Safari in this new windowed mode. Then if you want to use the two apps at the same time, all you have to do is to tap on these three dots right here, then hold on the green one, and then tap on this icon to move Safari to the left, and then do the same thing with the settings, although you want to move the settings to the right. And just like that, you have two apps working together at the same time. Now, that being said, if you want to use three apps at the same time, all you have to do is to swipe up on the dock, come here to the app gallery to select another app, like your App Store. Then you want to window the App Store app like this. And then you want to hold on the three dots and select this option right here. Automatically, the three apps will arrange in a, three app layout, so you can use the three at the same time. And you can do the same thing with four apps at the same time. So let's open the Notes, make the Notes app a window, then tap and hold, and then select this thing right here to turn the layout into a four app layout. So you can use the four apps at the same time. Now with the 11-inch iPad, which is a little bit small, this can get tricky. But if you have the 13-inch iPad Air, this is very nice. Now, that being said, if you want to turn any of these apps into a full screen app, you just have to tap and hold and then tap on the green dot, and automatically the app will go back to full screen mode. And something you should also know is that if you swipe down to go back to the home screen, any of the opened apps will display at the left and right sides of your home screen, so you can quickly tap on those apps and bring back the layout. So theoretically, you could just go back home and then boom, go back to the windowed app mode once again. Now, the only issue with this mode is that unfortunately, you can only have one set of apps working at the same time. But if you tap right here on Stage Manager, you'll actually be able to have multiple multitasking sets at the same time. So let's now turn the settings back into a window, as you can see. And you'll see that on the left side, we have these little recent tabs. The first one would be the App Store and the Notes app that I had before, which of course I can turn into a 2-app display just like this. So we could have these 2 apps working at the same time. And then if you swipe on the left side, you can have another set of apps working at the same time. So let's tap on Safari. There we go. Let's make Safari into a window. Let's then drag the settings like this. And so now we would have 2 sets of 2 apps working at the same time. So we could have these 2 apps working at the same time, and we could have these 2 apps. As you can see, we can have up to 4 sets, and each one of these sets can have up to 4 apps at the same time. Now, also 2 quick things you should know regarding the keyboard are that, first of all, if you tap with 2 fingers like this, you can turn your keyboard into a trackpad to browse around the text. And second, if you swipe down on your keys, you can access the secondary functionality. So if I tap on Q, it is going to type Q, but if I swipe down, it is going to type 1. And well, same goes for A, which can also be an add, or for S, which can also be a hashtag. As you can see, you can essentially use every functionality on your keyboard without having to tap on this section and waste your time. But anyway, that being said, I'm happy to say that I've saved the best for last. This is one of the coolest features that I've ever seen on any tech device ever. This is insane. If you hold your iPad near your Mac, whether it is a MacBook or a desktop Mac computer, you can actually swipe your cursor on your Mac into the iPad. Whether it is on the left side or the right side, it is going to detect it automatically, and you can move the cursor into the Mac so you can swipe between your apps like this. You can access the spotlight like that, and you can even use your keyboard like you would use if it was an iPad keyboard. I'm not really sure how they've done this because the latency is really low. Like, it doesn't feel weird. It feels like it's an actual native Bluetooth trackpad for the iPad. But if you generally use the 2 devices, this is a game changer. The only thing that I would say is better than this functionality is that if you come to the settings on your Mac and then tap on display, you'll be able to tap on your iPad display right here and then switch from link keyboard and mouse to an extended display for your Mac. So as you can see, you can either duplicate the display on your Mac like this, or you can also use it as a secondary display. So if you have an iPad, you essentially have 2 displays for your Mac without any cables. As you can see, you can also move the cursor between the 2. And if you want to move an app, you can also just move it into the iPad. This is incredible. I'm not sure how they've done it. Once again, like, they're essentially just sending another display from the Mac into the iPad with very low latency, very high resolution. I wish you could see this. Like, it's really, really high resolution. It feels like it's the native Mac here on the iPad. And well, needless to say, if you're editing videos or doing things where you need more space, this can be a great option. But anyway, that said, I believe those are all the things you need to know to get properly started with your new iPad. If you have any questions regarding anything that I said in the video, please tell me down below. And if not, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again very soon. Peace.